Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Savin, and I'm the project manager for Team S. And this is our project Hospital Communication System, and our project is called MedMemo. And today I have with me Manish and Brandon, who will be helping me present. So I'll let Manish take it from here.
Okay, so the first thing you would see in our website would be the login page. The login page has all the functionality of a standard login page other than signing up. This will be done through the admin page, which will be shown later on in this video. For example, let's just try logging into one of our testing nurse accounts, which has a token of 100 and a password of password. As you can see, we're in the nurse homepage, but for now, let's just log out. Another feature we have is the reset password feature. This feature allows the user to change their password given the token. As of now, we only require the user to input a token to reset their password for the account. However, in the future releases, there will be more authentication fields added to make it even more secure. For now, we can change the password for the testing account we mentioned before, which had the token of 100. And let's just change the password to testing account. Let's just hit submit. All right, let's try and log in back with our old password, which is password. As you can see, the password is incorrect because we changed our password to testing account. Let's go with our proper password, the new password, testing account. And as you can see, we can log back in to the homepage. Let's just log out for now. Our passwords are also encrypted in our database. As you can see through this password column right over here, these passwords are all hashed and will require a key to decrypt them. This is to ensure that the user credentials are secure as possible for each account. Our next important feature is user authentication. What I mean by this is that when you log in as a particular user, such as nurse, physician, or family. For example, the user with token 100 we used before would be a nurse user. They will only be able to navigate on pages that are allowed for nurses. So let's just log into the account with token 100 and a new password of testing account. As you can see above, the URL mentions /nurse currently. If we were to go back to our main URL, which is just /medmemo, it will just reroute us back into our nurse page. This is because we're currently logged in as a nurse and we have a session already created for us in the backend. Okay, let's just try and go into a physician homepage. Physician. The reason I'm typing this hash sign here is because of the way our front end is actually hosted. I will get to that in a little bit. So let's just try and go to our physician page and it will just reroute us back into our nurse page. This is because our credentials are not authorized to view any other page than the nurse pages. So the architecture we use here is called server-side session authentication. So when a user logs into our website, our database creates an encrypted session entry and a browser cookie. So let me just show you our database entry for this account that we just logged in real quick. As you can see here, the session ID is encrypted. And here on our data column, we have our valuable information such as our token ID and the type of user we just logged in. This user type is here to ensure that this user can only access routes that have the /nurse on it. As you can see above here, /nurse is here because we're logged in as a nurse account. So let's just go here. Still, the initial URL will still have /nurse in it because we're still in a nurse account. This is basically to ensure that authenticated users can only access pages that are under its user type. So if we wanted to go back into like /physician over here, we're unable to do it as I showed before. This is because our session only authorizes us to go into anything with /nurse in it. Okay, so now to hosting the website. The database and the backend servers are hosted on DigitalOcean Droplets, as you can see over here. These droplets are basically virtual machines that are provided by DigitalOcean. As you can see here, we have two droplets available. One is for hosting our database, which is right over here, and the other is to host our backend server that provides all of our API calls. The database droplet is pre-configured by DigitalOcean, so no extra configuration had to be done to run it. However, the backend server right over here had to be configured manually by logging into the virtual machine and setting up all the ports and the React packages to run our Express backend server. In order to provide a secure connection such as an SSL connection, a domain had to be used instead of this IP over here. One of our team members created a subdomain by attaching this prefix server dot to their main domain, which acts completely separately from their main domain. This allowed us to sign and attach an SSL certificate, which gets you this little secure sign on any of the browsers. From the secure connection, we ensure that all our API calls and the packets that are traveling from our backend to the front end are all secure and encrypted. As you can see, the front end is actually not hosted on DigitalOcean, but it's actually on GitHub. GitHub provides with a service called GitHub Pages that allows you to host your front end application. So our React app was actually compiled, built, and deployed on GitHub Pages, which contains all the static HTML files required to display a website on a browser. As you can see on this environmental variable right here, GitHub Pages is active, which basically means that all the files in this repository right here are being hosted by GitHub Pages.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the administrator page. So if we log in, we can use the token 1 and their password is password. So you can see this is the main menu or home page of the administrator, and they have a couple different functionalities. They can either create a patient account, create a nurse account, create a physician account, create a visitor account, or unlock accounts. Just a disclaimer, we didn't actually implement the functionality for visitor, but I'll be showing you the other 4 pages. So if you go to create patient and click on their name, you can see a form here. So you have to fill in all of these forms in order to submit, otherwise it won't go through. So you can see if I start typing my name, but say I just stop here and I try to click submit, all these other fields will prompt me to add them to the database. So that's the first thing. Also, if I insert an invalid data type, so first name only accepts strings, but if I input a number, it's going to tell me you can't put a number here. So that's really all there is for the create patient page. If we could click cancel, we leave the page. And then the same goes for nurse account. Same thing, same idea. You can click cancel or you can go back to the home page. And physician account, they're all just different forms with different fields required for the individual. So that's about it for that. One other thing I'd like to quickly show you is that we can actually create an account. So for instance, I'll use the nurse account as an example. So we'll go here to token. We can give the token, say 6,000. The password will be password. And then verify password. Just to show you that this works, I'll type in the incorrect password first. And if I click away, you'll notice that it says both passwords need to be the same. So it won't let you submit the form until both of these passwords are identical. And now they are. So we can use John Doe as our user, and then department hearts. Specialty will be lungs, and then submit. Then you can see the nurse account was successfully created. So if we return to the home page, log out, and then we use the token and password that we just used to create John Doe, we can do 6,000, and then password is password. And if we log in, we'll see that John Doe is now created. And then one other thing is to show you that the unlock feature actually works. So again, if we go to John Doe, but this time we're going to input his information incorrectly. So we need to do it. We need to have 3 login attempts to fail in order for them to be locked out of their account. And so now they're locked out. And even if I type in the right password, they're not going to be able to get in. So the only way to reset the password is if we go to the administrators page and we type in password. And we go to unlock accounts. So if you remember, John Doe's token was 6,000. And if we input 6,000 and submit, we'll see here that his account was successfully unlocked. And so if we try to log in as him again, and we put in his password, which is password, we should be able to get in again. And that's it. One last thing to mention is that all of our web pages are responsive. So if I minimize the screen and I shrink it more, you can see the buttons all stack on top of each other nicely, and the drop-down menu works. And this works for all pages. So if I go to create patient, for example, the form fits nicely, and there's no issues with it. but for sake of time, I'm not going to show every page.
One of the goals of MedMemo was to provide a medium where physicians and nurses in a hospital can communicate regarding their assigned patients. As such, physicians and nurses have their own login and a dedicated home screen where they can interact with their respective features. When a nurse logs in, they are presented with a table that consists of all of their assigned patients. Each entry in the table contains a quick overview of the patient's most up-to-date information, such as name, current diagnosis, room number, and an urgency number ranging from 0 to 3, and also a timestamp of the last time the information was updated. If a nurse is having trouble finding a patient, they can use the search bar located in the nav bar to filter the list of patients. Whenever a nurse wants to update the information, they can click the button under the Update column. When this button is clicked, they are presented with an SBAR form. SBAR stands for Situation, Background, Assessment, and Recommendation, and is used as a way to provide a template to store the patient's information and a synopsis of their current condition in a structured and organized format. Once all the relevant information is entered, the nurse will then press the Submit button and be returned to the nurse homepage. Notice that the Update button for this patient has went from Update Required to Up to Date. This is to show that the latest SBAR submitted for this patient has existed for under 5 hours. In addition to submitting SBAR forms, nurses can also view SBAR forms that have been previously submitted by clicking the SBAR History button for that patient. Each entry in the SBAR History table shows the nurse who submitted the SBAR, the date it was created, as well as the room number and urgency number at the time of submission. For more information, the nurse can click the View SBAR button to view an uneditable snapshot of all of the information that was submitted at that time. If needed, the nurse also has direct contact to the physician that is currently assigned to this patient using the Contact Physician card. To contact a patient's physician, the nurse simply clicks the Request Contact button, enters the desired message, and clicks the Submit button. Upon submission, the message will be sent to the Messages database, which is hosted on Firestore. Firestore was chosen as our host for nurse-physician messages because of its adequate performance due to its non-relational structure and querying capabilities. This means that instead of having to traverse multiple tables for the desired data, all data is stored in a single table with a key-value relationship, making it quicker to access. Because of this, each message sent can get to its recipient in real time. Each message object keeps track of the nurse who sent it, the recipient physician, the patient and subject, and a timestamp. In addition, when a nurse submits a message, it will also show in the nurse's outbox where all the messages for that nurse is listed. Each message tile in the outbox contains the details of the message, a tag to show if the message has been acknowledged by the physician, and a button to delete the message altogether, wiping it from the database. When a physician logs in, they are greeted with a table similar in format to the one on the nurse homepage, as it lists all the patients that belong to that physician. As such, the physician can view the patient's diagnosis, the current room number, urgency, SBAR history, and a timestamp marking the last time the patient's SBAR was updated. Just like the nurse, the physician can also click on the SBAR history button and view all of the SBAR forms that have been submitted for that patient and access an uneditable snapshot of that SBAR. In addition to the patient table, the physician can also interact with their message inbox, which lists all of the messages sent by nurses regarding one of the patients on the physician's patients list. Upon receiving a message, the message tile will turn red, indicating that the message has not yet been opened. Once opened, the physician can view the message as well as interact with a few options. The physician can delete the message, mark it as unread again, or press the Acknowledge button. The Acknowledge functionality is the physician's way of telling the nurse that sent the message that they have seen the message and plans to take action soon. Upon clicking the button, the message will then turn green for both the physician and the nurse who sent it. On the nurse's side, they can also see this acknowledgement by viewing the seen tag in the message.
All right, well, that concludes our presentation. We thank you so much for listening, and we hope you learned something today. Thank you.